Welcome back to the series we're calling On Assignment in association with Club Photo. Today I'm joined by a legend of a man, photographer, rugby player, drum player, all round just Mr. Nice Guy, I guess. He's photographed from Crosskeys to Chicago, Abercarn to America. I am joined by no other than Mr. Roger Tiley.
Right,
do you like that? That was off the top of my head.
That was really good, fair play. Good one.
Abercarn to America.
Abercarn to America, Chicago to where? Crosskeys to Chicago, I like it.
Chicago's right, isn't it? You've been there?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. This isn't like this is your life, how did you begin, how old are you, da-da-da-da-da. We're just going to... It's just a nice little chat in
so
front of the cameras.
So there's no people coming through the door and
no,
I haven't seen for...
Well, do you know what? This is how I started, actually. So you hate the limelight.
Yeah.
You hate being the centre of attention. I found this out. I didn't know this. I've found this out since working with you on the exhibition. But, so no one's coming in. It's not a crowd. It's just us. You talk to me about this, because you've photographed for decades. You've published, you've exhibited. What is it that you just hate about the limelight?
I just like being behind the camera. I'm just a photographer. I'm nobody famous, or I just like taking pictures.
But can you respect, because you have been doing it for so long, and you must, well, I guess, I know, yeah, you're not a celebrity, but in your own right, you've been in, done it, and people do want to have conversations with you. I remember ringing you after the exhibition, asking you, just checking in with you a few days after the exhibition. And it was a great night, and I will thank you now personally for exhibiting here, because it's been absolutely amazing. But we'll get into that again. But your words, I asked you how it went and how you thought about the evening, and your words to me were, I absolutely hated it. And so much so that I almost wanted to give up photography. Oh, talk to me.
Yeah, it's just hard to explain, to be honest, Mark. It's just that, my enjoyment is taking the pictures and making the prints and, seeing the work exhibited. There's no problem with that. I just get overawed by people coming up to me and saying how good I am, which is really not the case. I just take pictures, and I just happen to have made a career from it, I suppose. So yeah, the meet and greet is not really my thing. But in saying that, the people that turn up to see it, I'm just overawed by it, that people will turn up to see my photos on the wall. And people will buy my books and my publications. And, it's lovely. But I just feel that the praise is something that I suppose it comes from my upbringing, in the valleys. We're not extrovert in that way. We're not, we're not born film stars or anything, and like that sort of thing. So, yeah, I suppose I don't know if I'm modest or whatever, but I genuinely, prefer to be out taking pictures.
Yeah.
But the people that turn up are fantastic, and the compliments are brilliant. But
so in a world when so many people are chasing notoriety or fame, they're hungry for it, the likes, the follows, whatever it is, and you're just like, I just want to take photos, man.
Yeah,
and but it's great to hear, because I'm downstairs for most of the week, and I have people come in and go, I've won awards, and yeah, man, I did this, and I'm just like, I don't care, man. Let's see your work. If it's good, it's good. If it's bad, it's bad.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
When I sort of come into contact with people like that, in the back of my head, I just think, wankers.
Yeah, no, the same. I just didn't want to say it, but yeah, you said it. Yeah, great.
So, the people that do well in whatever, not just photography, but whatever, never really say about it.
It's funny, isn't it? Yeah.
You know, there's people that come and say, oh, I've made loads of money doing whatever, selling cars or selling what. But really, the people with money, the genuine people, never ever mention it.
No, they don't talk about it.
So I've enjoyed my career, and I still enjoy doing it now. I'm quite an old fart. I'm 65, and it's just what I do.
Well, after doing it and doing it and doing it so many years, decades, what still excites you? What makes you get up in the morning and pick the camera up?
Because you don't know what's in front of you. You don't know the people that you're going to meet. You don't know, well, obviously you know the place you're going to go to that day, but it's just the surprise and just the excitement of meeting people and photographing them and trying to photograph them in the best way, which, you know, you're always chasing the perfect photograph, which you're never going to get. And that's the buzz that I get, really, is the fact that I'm always learning, I'm always listening, and I love listening about people's stories, you know, back to the miners in the valleys and so on. And I think you've experienced that during the exhibition with former miners coming in and talking about their experiences. It's just a privilege, really, to be part of that. If it weren't for photography, I would have missed all that. Photography really is my excuse to be able to talk to people that I would never meet otherwise.
Yeah.
And that's the magic of it, really.
Yeah. I always said it's like a ticket, isn't it, or a pass.
Yeah.
A skeleton key to most. If you're into
Sure.
it, you can get your way into it with a camera, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, wherever I go, if it's in the valleys or America or wherever, it's just that magic of speaking to people and them showing interest in you as well. Why are you taking the pictures and what they're going to be used for, and then talking about their lives. It's just great.
Have you had much of that where you've been out and about and someone's confronted you about what you're doing? Or
Yeah, more in the digital age, in social media, because people are thinking Facebook, that's the first thing they think about.
Yeah, they just wonder where it's going to go.
Are you going to use it on Facebook? And they may have some skeletons that they don't want to be shown. But yeah, I found it more and more, to be honest. But I mean, if you're a genuine person and taking pictures for a genuine reason, and then you explain it, I think is pretty much 99% people are fine. I'm not really a street photographer. I like to get to know people, even if it's for 5 minutes. I like to be able to see some personality or get a caption off them, get their names or whatever to use on the photographs. So I'm not a street photographer. I'm not a sneaky photographer. I very rarely photograph people at the backs of their heads. And I think that's one of the privileges that I've got coming from the valleys, is the fact that you learn to speak to people. And in my day, you know, in the 1960s, 70s, 80s, there weren't any mobile phones that you keep looking at when you actually speak to people. So if you sit by somebody on the bus, in my culture, I speak to the person sat next to me. But now I think young people coming through, they just look at their phones all day, and they've lost that skill, I think, of being able to communicate.
Well, phones have changed everything, the world. Let me ask you a two-part question. So, first of all, what, in your view, what is a documentary photographer? After that, do you think documentary photography is changing?
What is a documentary photographer? A photographer that captures life, I suppose, that records what's in front of them, and to be able to have that way about them to photograph and to try and get the best photograph from that situation. That's the way I was taught at Clarence Place on the documentary photography course. You know, and I think that's the fundamental basis of being a documentary photographer. And I think, as I just alluded to, it's important to be able to communicate and be liked, I think. And to be trusted is extremely important to get the pictures you want. What's the second part? Sorry, I forgot.
Do you think it's changing?
Yeah.
In what way?
Well, it's changing because of maybe AI, which I know very little about. It's changing because people's attitudes, photographers' attitudes are changing because, again, as I touched on, I think young photographers coming through maybe are taking pictures where they're slightly embarrassed to take pictures of people.
So society.
Yeah, I get the impression, looking at a lot of work these days, that the photographer has not really captured the event in front of them. I think because it takes a lot to point a camera at people that you don't know or you're not familiar with. It takes a lot of, I don't know if skill is the right word, but it takes a lot of confidence.
Just having balls.
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah.
I think whenever you push the shutter button, the camera it just tells the truth, doesn't it? So whether it's...
Yeah.
I think we're seeing a lot more staged images.
Yeah.
I think things are being set up.
Yeah.
Definitely not what they used to be. And I think that it's too much. It's great to speak to your subject, obviously, but if you're going to be too pally with them beforehand, then you've completely lost the shot. I think that's what's happening a lot more now. Like the truth, that moment is gone. What about, you used to teach, lecture. What about, I don't know, can we talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, sure.
Just to,
sure, yeah.
Do you think and you were taught by the best?
Absolutely.
The absolute best of the
100%,
best.
Yeah.
Do you think they're being taught today what they were being taught when you were in university?
No. There's a number of...
So what do you think is what's missing or what's different?
There's a number of reasons, really, and it's quite complex, I suppose. From my days at on the Doc Fort course with David Hearn, Ron McCormack, and all them, we didn't have to write essays on bullshit. We didn't have to. We wrote captions. We wrote a proposal in our second year to propose. So it was very much photography based. It was, you were taught to be a documentary photographer.
Which makes sense.
And it was
so
entirely up to you if you use that, the stuff that you've been taught. I'd come from a fairly high paid job as an industrial photographer. So I had to make it work. So I was absolutely 7 days a week shooting pictures. And I think from my lecturing career, and I taught for 27 years, number one, I remember going for the interview to be a full-time lecturer, and I said, I will always be a photographer. I will always shoot pictures because I feel it is extremely important. Because I was taught by David Hearn, he was always shooting pictures. Ron McCormack, they were always shooting pictures. They were always working on assignments. And you could see they were coming in saying, we were going to the canteen for coffee and, I'm working on this project. And they would show their work and it was just magical for me. And I tried to carry the same philosophy through my teaching career, was to say, I'm a photographer first and foremost, and I lecture as well. So I always worked on commissions, went to America working on commissions, exhibitions and so on, and the students could see that. But the problem with education was, over the time, things started to change in the fact that the courses became a lot more prescribed, in the fact that some suits up in London from the examination board saying, well, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to tick boxes. So all of a sudden, students were being asked to write essays.
And this is while you were there teaching.
While I was teaching.
So when you started, there was no
it was
dissertations
pretty
or essays.
Open assignments.
Yeah, and
pretty
then
open
later
assignments. Yeah,
it started getting a bit more pen and paper.
Yeah, it was all crits.
Yeah.
I sat down with a student, didn't have to write any report. During my career there, then all of a sudden you had to start writing reports and filling in these massive paperwork trails, which takes away. It takes time and it takes away from actually what you're trying to teach. And students then had to produce files with writing, why did you do this? How did you do this? Analyse your work. And it was all taken away from the photography. And, you know, it in the end, students weren't spending that much time actually taking the pictures.
That's crazy.
They were more sort of writing about why they took the pictures. So, yeah, and the other thing was I worked with staff that were never photographers. They were... They never produced a professional photograph in their lives. They'd gone through a degree. They come on to teaching through the side door, I suppose. I don't know how they got there. And they were teaching these students how to be how can you teach a student to be a photographer if you've never been a photographer?
I don't know. I was talking about it yesterday. So I am an expert in Liverpool Football Club. 2 more wins and we've won the Premier League, by the way.
Well, football's rubbish.
But what I'm saying is,
You need to
I cut that
rugby.
bit.
When you play rugby, you're a big lad.
I never got into it.
Come on, man.
I never got into it. Do you know what? I went to Cumcarn High School.
Yeah, so did
And
I.
it was-
I played for the rugby team.
No, but rugby
Where
was-
were you?
What would I have played? What would I have been?
Oh, second row, maybe?
Second row, okay. Well, it was
Front row,
drilled
prop.
into us.
Guys.
Rugby, I couldn't get into it. But what I'm saying is, being an expert in something doesn't make you good at something. I'm not going to make the Liverpool starting 11.
No, that's...
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I know all about the club's history, the formations, everything about it. So so it is a bit mad that you can go on to teach something that you've not practiced.
Yeah.
It's wild, isn't it, really?
I did... I'll tell you a quick story. Sort of halfway through my career...
Yeah.
In teaching, and as I said, I was just about to go to America with Ange to West Virginia to work on a series of pictures, and the college offered me a day a week to study on the MA course. There was a new documentary photography course at Caerleon, run by Paul Seawright and Ian Walker, great lecturers, really, really nice people. You know, and Paul Seawright sort of showed me a different style to photography, which I'm indebted to, really. But I was there one day a week with... I thought it'd be a sort of kick in the balls time for me to go back and for somebody to crit me like they used to at Clarence Place. And I went on this MA course, and it was basically talking about things that I didn't understand. I didn't see the point. We had to bring in some work on one occasion, and you know, I brought work in. I was working on a book called the Tower Colliery stuff, and then there was other students bringing 1 or 2 pictures in, which I really didn't understand. In my opinion, it wasn't documentary photography. It was some kind of photo art thing that they were doing, and it really made me think that, you know, education had changed, but not only that, that photography had changed into people being trained to use big words I'd never heard of.
Yeah.
But produce, I can't say, can I, but it's crap photos, basically.
Just said it.
That I couldn't see where they were going to be used. They weren't going to be used in a magazine. Maybe they'd be exhibited in some kind of gallery. I don't know.
Is there anyone today on your radar, like newish photographers, documentary-wise at least? Because
Oh, that's a question.
That's where we're at. I asked, I don't want to name drop, well, we already have David Hearn, but I was with David Hearn.
Who?
Exactly. I was with David Hearn a week and a half ago, and I asked him the same question, and before he'd even finished the question, he just said, no.
Yeah, I mean, I've been classed as traditional, and on the MA it was classed as traditional, whatever that means. I just think I'm a documentary photographer. If I'm traditional, I'm traditional. If I'm new, whatever, I don't care. But now you say that, it's nobody springs to mind. I mean, you know, the people that I admire, and I look at a lot of people like David Hearn.
And we're all, I never went to college, none of them.
No.
Yeah, funny. I'm not slagging it off. I've been trying to get a lecturer in to have a chat to, but so far, no luck. And it's not to slate the system. It's just, it's a really funny career because you can go and you can become a millionaire from it, and have never been educated. And you can be a photographer, and never been educated, and you can make it. You cannot become a plumber or an electrician or a carpenter or any other. You can't become a doctor. There's loads of other. You know, you need to be educated. But now you can just go onto YouTube and tap something in and become a photographer, and make good money from it as well. And I want to get both sides of it. What I want to do, I want to get someone in there's against and someone there's for, and I've got no one that will come in for the for.
Well, like I said, I've been sat on both sides of the fence. I've been a lecturer, and I've been out of teaching full time for 10 years. I can't understand why you can't get a lecturer in, because it's.
I don't know if they'd be allowed to. I wonder if that's why. If they'd be allowed to.
I don't know about being allowed. I mean, you know, I would have thought a lecturer in and perhaps maybe not 10 years ago, because I could see the avenue out. But maybe if you'd interviewed me 20 years ago, perhaps I would have had a different opinion, and I would have been sort of not brainwashed, but sort of followed the criteria to say, oh yeah, we teach students. Students are going on to doing really good things, like work in McDonald's and all sorts of stuff. You know, that's the other thing that I think is worrying now, that students pay a lot of money to have tuition, and I think the industry has shrunk quite a lot. And as you alluded to earlier on, is more about how many likes you get on social media rather than actually getting your work produced in a magazine and being a working photographer.
Well, this is the thing. So, you know, on some platforms, likes pay.
Oh, right. So I don't get all that. I don't understand it.
So on some platforms, likes pay.
Yeah, well, that's cool.
So you can be a terrible photographer.
But if you make a living, fine.
But if you're pushing work out every single day, you know, YouTube, TikTok, whatever.
Yeah.
I didn't know this until 2 days ago. TikTok paid crazy amounts of money.
Did they?
So maybe we should set up a TikTok account.
And make a note. Of
Can you imagine Roger on TikTok?
Bloody hell, I'll go on TikTok.
Yeah, they're paying very well at the moment. And right now as well, because they're being kicked out of America because of the whole Trump thing.
Yeah.
They're focusing more on European channels and stuff right now.
Yeah.
So now would be a good time, Roger, to start your TikTok career.
Hey, folks, I've just started
Can
TikTok.
you imagine? Oh, my God, that'd be amazing.
Oh, my God. It's all going too quick for me. I don't get all this stuff.
You know, in an age of, like, you know, where we're at editing, we just had lessons in ChatGPT, didn't we, downstairs? So we mentioned earlier Cameron, who's done Ukraine twice.
Yeah.
And you'd mentioned that you tried to look at some of his photographs and he hasn't posted anything.
Yeah.
And do you know why the reason that is? Is because he's scared that people will say to him, well, you've edited it too much, or you've edited it, but he hasn't. I'm telling him he hasn't. His photographs are amazing, by the way. He should be posting loads
I'd
more.
like to see them.
Yeah, well, this is it. So, where do you stand with that? I mean, have you when you put your photograph into Lightroom or the computer, what are you doing in it? Are you?
I use Photoshop. I just use it as a darkroom, as if I was in a darkroom. I was saying to Justin earlier on, if I had my way, digital photography should never have been invented. I miss film photography. I miss the printing. I loved printing in the darkroom. But as far as Photoshop goes, I just use the burning tool if I need to, just to adjust bits and pieces.
So really, like in the darkroom, yeah.
And that's it. And the dodge tool, that's all I use on Photoshop. I don't. But I mean, it's frightening what you can do if you wanted to. If you wanted to cheat and, I don't know, cut somebody's picture out and chuck it onto something else, I suppose you can do it. And
what was that change like for you from analog to digital?
Well, I had to learn digital because I was teaching, and that's the reason that I changed. It was the fact that, and it was embarrassing because students knew more about Photoshop than me. And I could see the future. They were going out, taking a couple of pictures and coming back, and I was saying, well, you need to do this, you need to go back out. Oh no, I'll do it on Photoshop.
Well, I guess that was the AI. That was their AI back then, you know.
And it just made me feel like I didn't want to get up in the mornings. It was not what I sort of signed up to go into education to teach. So it sort of progressed until the end, where students were sat 6 hours in a day on Photoshop on a computer.
I can imagine when you were with in the arts college, it literally just was the photograph. You know, nothing more, nothing less.
No.
A darkroom print, you know, dodge and burn if need be.
Yeah, I mean,
and that would be
contact
it.
sheets.
Yeah.
We weren't allowed at Newport. We weren't allowed to do prints. I think for probably about the first 6 months, we did contact sheets, and that was it. And you learned so much from being critted. And in those days,
what was that like for you?
Sometimes it was a little bit being told that you need to go back out, you need to shoot it again. It's not good enough. But as a learning tool, it was perfect. These days, even in my days, 10 years ago, you had to be soft. You couldn't say to a student, do you know what, your work is shite.
I do wonder today with everything going on.
Yeah.
I'm guessing those critique, it's changed.
Yeah, absolutely.
It would have changed.
Oh, if you said to a student, look, your work is shite, you'd go straight upstairs into the office with the suits and they discipline you.
Straight away.
You know, so you had to sort of go around it and say, oh, do you think you could do it slightly different?
Really?
Do you think you could go out and shoot it again,
That's
please?
not a critique then, though, is it?
And I noticed with students as well, they felt uncomfortable about going out. So a lot of the work was very much studio-based, where they felt comfortable. They could get their friend in, photograph their friend, go up onto Photoshop and change the background, or, if there were shadows, take the shadows out. It wasn't the style of photography that I
At what point is a
subscribed
photograph... At what point is the photograph no longer a photograph? Because I struggle with this. I used to heavily edit photographs. I don't do it now. But it's almost graphic design, isn't it? You know, if you're adding things in and taking things away, it's a graphic. It's a poster, isn't it? I don't know what it is. It's no longer the moment. It's gone.
Yeah.
Funny. Let me read. I just mentioned Cameron to you a minute ago. He's post-war, likes to be in hostile situations.
Fantastic.
Amazing. 23-year-old, just out there doing it.
Take my hat off to him.
Off camera, you'd mentioned that you may have a new assignment.
Yeah.
Commission.
Yeah.
Where, when, how? Talk to us.
It's sort of in the mix at the moment. It sounds quite positive.
It's very different from what you've done before, I think, isn't it?
It's to go out to the Ukraine. There's a sort of charity called Trident. They take supplies out to the Ukraine. They've taken medical equipment to some hospitals there. They also go to orphanages to take things for the children. They've actually gone out as we speak, taking Easter eggs and various blankets and all sorts of stuff for the Ukrainian people. They've taken some, I forget what they call now, but they're for the Ukrainian army. They're not guns, but some sort of body armor or some similar thing. And yeah, so I know one of the guys actually from when I took pictures at Kellingley Colliery 10 years ago. And we've sort of always been in contact. And he said, we go out to Ukraine, do you fancy it? And I said, well, yeah, of course, yeah, absolutely. So in July, they'll be going out again, and they take in various stuff to different areas of the Ukraine. From what I understand, and you know, parts of the Ukraine look like they're not at war. And then there's other parts that have been absolutely ripped apart by Russian missiles and drones and et cetera. So I said, look, you know, are you going to just go out, drop stuff off and come back? Because from my point of view, that's not particularly
So
great.
how long will you be out there for?
About 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
So, yeah, he said, well, we go to different places. He said, and I've seen some photographs, and he's in body armour. And the caption saying that the Russians are just over the wayside there, about 7 miles away.
Does that excite you? Are you, as a documentary photographer,
And she
you know?
sat there, so she's...
No, but as a documentary photographer, you know.
Well, yeah,
there's-
it's you know, it may put me in the category of being a war photographer, which sounds quite good, doesn't it?
yeah, I mean,
And I come back with nothing, so...
no, I would imagine the brief is very different to
Yeah.
being a,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
photographing.
I mean,
You're not there to do the war stuff, but
It's
I mean,
a
as
challenge, isn't it?
as a photographer, as a documentary photographer,
Yeah.
part of you's thinking, oh, well, this is different.
Yeah.
It's going to be good.
I
in a
mean-
weird way, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I've been asked a question that comes up now and again is, have you ever been photographing a war? And I said, yeah, I photographed the miners' strike. And it's like a big smile on the person interviewing. And I said, no, if you'd seen Orgreave, it was a battle. It was a war. So to have the opportunity, and I hope it comes off, I think it will, to go out to actually a war zone in the Ukraine and shoot some pictures there is a big challenge for me. It's different, you know, different people, different place geographically. Like, you know, I've been to the West quite a lot, USA and so on, but to go to the East and to witness that, I think is going to be quite exciting. So
It'd be amazing if...
I'm looking forward.
Well, I hope it goes ahead, because I want to see the photographs too. You know,
Yeah,
it'd be
yeah.
amazing for you.
Yeah, but you never know what you're going to come back with, and that's
No.
the same anyway. If you go out in Newport this afternoon and take pictures,
Oh, I'll tell you what you get this afternoon if you head into Newport. Yeah,
Yeah.
Your most recent commission, I think, was America. Is that right?
yeah.
What was that for?
Yes.
And when can we see the work?
Well, the work is going to be published in a book. As you know, I run.
Is there a title?
210 books. Yeah, there is. What's the title, though? Is it East to West? It's basically Route 66.
Okay. But what was it for?
Right, it's a long story. There's a sponsor out there which is very kind to me, and basically I get offered to go out to America, which I never say no, and to shoot pictures for the book, which is coming out. I've had trouble with the book because the editing the book, it's been a strange one, because the majority of my work is going to communities like in the past in America. So you go down to communities in West Virginia or Kentucky, you get to know the people, and you shoot pictures. They get to know you. They get to like you, hopefully. This one is more of a street photographer approach where,
Okay.
Ange came with me. We travelled 2,500 miles or something, 3,000 miles across America in 6 weeks. So you don't get the time to stay in one place. But you still need to use the same sort of way in trying to get to know people, even if it's for a few minutes. It's like spending the time sort of laughing and joking or answering a question if they ask you why are the pictures being taken. It was a different way. And coming back to the editing for the book, I found it quite difficult actually putting the pictures together in some coherent way. I mean, the obvious way to do it is we started in Chicago, we ended up in Los Angeles to put the pictures in sequence.
And you do this all yourself, the edit?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Yeah. And would you ever give it to someone to proofread beforehand, or you just... It just goes out?
Yeah. She's
the
put her
boss.
hand up.
The boss.
The boss.
Modern day America.
Modern day America.
It is, isn't it?
East to west.
Yeah.
Yeah. Modern day America. Because the brief was really open.
Yeah.
We decided to... Well, we had a chat and we saw a Billy Connolly programme and he was travelling on his motorbike across Route 66 and I thought, oh yeah, that's going to be good. So we did that. Busman's holiday, really.
Yeah.
And but the pictures look like they're going to be in sequence. At the moment, the book is on the computer and it's looking to be sequenced from east to west. But yeah, it's been a tricky one, and it should have come out before Christmas. But
why have you struggled with it? What is it? What's held you back or not? Why have you not been happy with it?
Just questioning myself as a photographer. Are they good pictures, or I don't know.
After all these years.
Yeah, and just thinking, well, does it include this?
Is it because it's different?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. The funny thing about Route 66 is when I did the research, I thought I'm going to find loads of photographers that have photographed recently Route 66, and there are a lot of photographers, but they've all photographed the abandoned hotels, the abandoned gas stations, and they all seem to, and they're beautiful pictures.
Yeah.
But nobody has seemed to concentrate on people on Route 66. So, that's quite good. Unless nobody's interested in people on Route 66.
So what people, like tourists or people that live...
Yeah, people
the
that
communities.
live.
Yeah, okay.
Communities.
I don't know much about... I know it, but I don't know much about it.
Going across, I think it was 7 or 8 states. Every state is like a different country anyway.
I see, okay.
And the other thing was I was interested in, Chicago. My uncle actually went out in the 1930s to Chicago to live and to work. And I always remember him telling me a story about the mafia. He came out of the cinema, my uncle, one evening, and there was a mafia shooting outside.
Oh, my God.
Gangland shooting. And I always remember him telling that story. So Chicago was quite an interesting place to go to. And from a photography point of view, I love the Farm Security Administration photographers. Dorothea Lang worked in Oklahoma, and the migrant mother was photographed in Oklahoma. So it's always been a state that I've wanted to really go through, and obviously it's changed considerably now. So you wouldn't see the Dust Bowl as they were in the 1930s. But so there was these trigger points that fascinated me, and in the text I'm still writing, I sort of just mentioned those things that have really sort of stuck in my mind. And the other thing was TV programs. I've always been interested in TV programs. Dukes of Hazzard, when we went down to Kentucky, for example, Dukes of Hazzard was one of my sort of teenage things that I used to watch. And, just things that stick in your mind about, I mean, Los Angeles was, we didn't spend much time there, so it was the end of the journey. And we had to catch the Amtrak back. I always wanted to catch a train through America, so we treated ourselves and we...
Was that an overnight one?
Yeah.
They're big though.
3 nights.
Oh, okay. Hey,
3
amazing.
nights. Oh, it was amazing.
Yeah.
It was brilliant. So, and Los Angeles, we didn't see the tourist spots. We didn't see Hollywood. We didn't see any of that. We ended up by, is it Grand Station and the Mexican Quarter.
Okay.
And it's very poor. And
Near Skid Row as
we were near Skid Row. And Skid Row is a place that you don't go into with a lot of bodyguards carrying guns, basically.
I've been there.
Have you?
I didn't go in.
Yeah.
I've been around there,
So, yeah, that was, we tried to keep away from, but there was people sleeping on the streets. It was
wild. Anywhere.
It was mad.
Yeah.
So we had to watch our backs there, but we were in the Mexican Quarter, and Mexican people were really friendly, really nice. I did a demo there. We just happened to fall upon a demonstration and shot some pictures of that. And again, the people were...
Will these be in the book?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, amazing.
And people were thanking us.
Oh, really?
And saying, you know, where are you from? And unfortunately, you've got to say England because...
yeah, I know.
So it's really upsetting to say that. But if you say Wales, they just haven't got a clue.
Yeah.
So,
England, but...
Yeah, England, but... you don't sound English. Oh, right, so I'm from Wales. I thought you were. No, but... they, you know, when he said, "Oh, from England, and why are you shooting pictures?" "Oh, we're doing this project, doing a book." "Oh, thank you so much for showing interest," and that is really the lovely thing about photography is when you know, and going back to my mining stuff and my Yorkshire stuff, which is coming out in an exhibition and a book this year. Again, the first book sold out, but you know, those Yorkshire miners said, "Roger, you're one of us." And that for me is the ultimate, you know, that. And when you say, "Oh, you don't like being in exhibitions, you don't like people coming up to you saying how wonderful you are," well, the reason being is I much prefer for somebody like that, a miner, to come up to me and say, "Roger, you're one of us." That to me is the accolade of my career.
Yeah, I'm with you. Would you have with the latest commission? Then you're struggling with the edit. Is there any commission that you would like to revisit?
In the fact of not doing
you think you might shoot it differently?
Yeah, there's one that really stands out, and that's the Valleys Project photo gallery back in 1984, 85, I think it was. In my second year at college, and when I finished college, I was doing a lot of national newspaper work. I became, I don't know, successful is the wrong word, but I had lots of work. And perhaps it came to me too quick, because it was my dream to work for national newspapers. And all of a sudden, it just happened. And I had pictures that they wanted, and I had access that they found would be beneficial. I applied for Photo Gallery Valleys Project. On top of it all, as I say, I had loads and loads of work. I was working 17 hours a day, basically, shooting pictures, processing films, doing some prints when I had time. And I was successful in the second run of the Valleys Project. And I didn't put the time in that I should have done. It was another job, basically, that I was involved in doing. And I didn't realise how big it was going to be. And I said about the Farm Security Administration in America, it was on par to that, really, I think, in probably a smaller way. But it was something that I didn't give 100% to. I gave probably 90%, which is not me, because I usually give 100% in everything I do. And I regret that now, and I wish I could go back and do the Valleys project again. I'd like to do it back in 1985, but obviously I can't do that. I'm not a time
I was
traveller.
going to ask you earlier, so you'd be most well known for the miners and the Valleys photographs work. Would you have shot it differently, do you think, on digital as opposed to analog? I know it's a hard one to answer. But are you glad, I guess, you did it on analog?
It would have,
or would you have rather the 128 gig SD card with you? Do you know what I mean?
It would have been easier to shoot it on digital. You don't have to faff around with changing films.
Yeah.
The main reason was that I was trying to meet deadlines.
Ah, okay.
With digital now, as you know, you can basically send the pictures straight to London in seconds. In those days, I shot pictures. Some of them went. The rolls of film went to London.
Oh, really? They developed them for you then?
I never saw again.
So you couldn't do anything about...
You may see one or two pictures on the newspaper, but you didn't see the roll of film, and I never saw those rolls of film to this day. They were probably chucked in a skip, I would have thought, sometime.
So this is when you were, what, year 2 student?
The latter part in year 2, the miners went on strike.
Was there a bit of envy in the other students? Because if you're going to be in the class or studying something, you want to be the best at it. Obviously, as a photographer, you want to be published. That would be the main goal, I guess, back then. You were being published as a student, which is probably unheard of now, really. And I'm guessing, gosh, some of them would never have been published. Some of them may have gone on to do things. I'm sure they would have. But you were still studying and in national newspapers. Was there anything you can remember from the students at all? Because I would imagine they must have hated you.
Well, to be honest...
Being pleased, but and a bit of jealousy, I guess.
To be honest, they must have kept it to themselves. I was so focused on what I was doing, and I was blinkered into what I was doing. I didn't really spend the amount of time at college that I should have spent. Because I remember David Hearn calling me up in the first year into the office, and I remember him saying to me that, why don't you attend lectures? We used to have lectures on a Wednesday. All day Wednesday was lecture day. And we had some great visiting photographers. I mean, luckily I saw John Benton Harris, an American photographer who I deeply admired. He created my contact sheets. Martin Parr, I saw his lecture on bad weather, which again was awe-inspiring. But I missed some lectures that I really wish I could have gone to. But I was so blinkered into shooting pictures that I missed a lot of them. I skived them because I was genuinely out shooting pictures on that Wednesday. So I think, to answer your question, Mark, in the second year, I mean, I can't recollect any students being envious of me. And I think there were some students on the course, not all, I can't remember some of the names of the students, unfortunately. But there were students like Steve, and I can't think of his second name. He went out to America. He's made a good living from, I think, his wedding photography in New York. There were students like Paul Rees, who's done really well. So I don't know if there was envy there.
And were the college behind you?
Oh, 100%.
Doing that, yeah.
Oh, crikey, yeah.
I only asked that because I know of a few recently that, I'm not going to name names, but they haven't been behind them doing certain things. I don't know why. Yeah.
The lecturing staff were totally behind.
But they would have realised.
And they encouraged it. They encouraged.
Okay.
I mean, Ron McCormack was an amazing person to encourage and to pass your name along. If he could give you a contact, he would, without a doubt. And hopefully, I'm sort of repaying that in a very small way in telling people about Ron. So, you know, they were incredibly supportive. The staff, all the staff were amazing. But like I say, I can't recollect any students being envious.
I
as
just
such,
wondered.
right?
I would just imagine that would happen today, you know.
But then again, like I said, I was very blinkered. I was very focused on what I had to do, and I was following my dream. And I don't come from a posh background. I had to make a living. It was make or break. As I said to you, I gave up a job as an industrial photographer to go to Newport and do the Doc Fort course. So there was a big gamble for me. And I felt that I've got to make it work. I can't fail. And, there was a lot of luck, I think, but you have to take your luck. The reason I'm saying there's a lot of luck was the fact that I photographed my communities, the valleys, the miners. And when the miners went on strike, I had contacts. I was allowed into different meetings that other photographers, journalists, media weren't allowed into. But, you have to make the most of those avenues and get what you need to get. And I was very sympathetic with the miners. There was no, there was no argument of that. I supported the miners 100%, and I was very biased. As a media person then, I was very biased towards
Was that what
them.
you thought is that how you went into it as a media person?
Well, as a newspaper photographer, that was sort of my dream and ambition.
Because it was your community.
Yeah, and I
So
wanted to
you
show
would have
them.
seen yourself as a media photographer, would you?
No, I was more, going back, I was one of them.
Yeah.
And that was more important. That's the way I shot the pictures. I could have taken pictures of things miners were doing that weren't exactly following the law, shall we say. But I decided not to do that.
Yeah.
But as far as when the police started attacking the miners, I was shooting the pictures.
Yeah.
So I was very biased, 100%.
This half an hour talk has gone on for 52 minutes.
Oh, shit.
That's fine, we'll wrap it up in a minute. I just want to know, a dream commission, what would it be? If you had to open up an email, what would it say?
Can you come to the Ukraine?
Oh, you've had, so it's happening.
Um,
Is that something you've wanted to do
I think
before?
I've done the dream projects. I want, if...
Go back to Virginia, West Virginia.
Go back to West Virginia. I'd love to go back to see the people there.
Would you?
Yeah, and we will do that, won't we? That's in the planning as well. That's on the bucket list, as they say.
And for anyone listening that wants the 30, 40-year career, any advice?
Oh, it's Mark. It's so different these days. In a way, it's more difficult for young photographers to actually make a living from any kind of photography. What I would say to young photographers is be more widespread, know about social media, because young people tend to know a lot more than myself. Do some moving image stuff as well, do film, maybe a bit of journalism.
Oh, we never tapped into that with you, did we?
I think you need to be an all-rounder more now than a documentary photographer.
Well, I guess content creator
Content
has overtaken, isn't it, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what a content creator involves, but it sounds really cool. I wish I was a content creator.
Well, it's someone that just does everything,
But what's that one I'm going to go on? The new TikTok.
Yeah. Watch this space for TikTok. Hey, Rog, you've been amazing. We could talk all day.
Cheers, buddy.
We didn't do too bad. 56 minutes.
Oh, Christ.
For someone that doesn't want to talk at all.
Oh, God. Once you get me going, bloody hell.
Yeah, we'll cut it off
Sorry,
there. No, you've been amazing, man. Thanks
All
very
right.
much.
Cheers, Mark.
Bosh.
Take care, bud.
Done.